Bacon is wonderful. That's not a controversial statement. And while there are some carnivores who swear off all pork products entirely, or who, for whatever reason, don't consume anything with nitrates or nitrites, despite the fact that the studies saying nitrates and nitrites are about as believable as the studies claiming that saturated fat is bad, some carnivores choose to only eat beef, butter, bacon, or beef, butter, and eggs and salt. Or maybe they even eliminate butter and eggs too. They just eat beef and salt and drinks water, and that's it. And more power to you if that's you. For the rest of us, bacon is wonderful, and it can add a little bit of zest to, meals that can oftentimes get a little monotonous and a little repetitive. I mean, after all, yes, different beef cuts have different tastes, but at the end of the day, beef, nothing but beef can get kind of tiresome. But bacon can add a little bit of zest to that. But there are several different kinds of bacon out there, more than just the traditional go to the grocery store cured conventional pork belly. So I'm going to give you 5 different kinds of bacon today. Some of them will really kind of blow your mind, I think, a little bit. And one of them got the wheels turning in my head when I picked some up from Sam's Club the other day, because I can make it at home. Because it comes from the cheapest and most easy cut of pork to get. So let's just start here from the top. The first of these is beef bacon. You've probably heard of beef bacon. It's almost like mythical. I see people in these social media groups that talking about beef bacon, how they'd love to try it, but they can't find it. The only place I know to get beef bacon in my area is from an actual butcher. There's a neighborhood butcher who will have it pretty consistently. It's interesting stuff, to say the least. It definitely doesn't have the same taste as regular bacon, but it is made basically the same way. It's made from the belly of the cow, which usually isn't used for much. It's probably ground up, if I had to guess, most of the time. But in this case, they actually preserve the belly instead of sending it to the grinder, and then they brine it the way you would brine pork belly in the curing process for regular bacon. Regular bacon, for those who don't know, is brined in a rather large amount of water in a food-grade bucket, usually plastic bucket, with a little bit of sugar and curing salt. This is pink salt, not to be confused with sea salt or even Redmond's real salt. And if you don't have curing salt, you can use celery powder. Usually the, quote, nitrite-free or nitrate-free bacons you see out there are cured using celery powder. And celery powder is used because it's actually a natural source of nitrite, so it's not actually nitrite-free. They're actually lying to you on those labels when they say that, but nitrites, I'm not that worried about them personally. But the difference is, of course, that beef and pork have a very different flavor profile. And so what you end up getting is a beefier version of bacon. It's still bacon. It's still fatty the way pork bacon is. It doesn't cook the same. Not in my experience. It tends to come out a little limper than pork bacon will, so that's something to be advised of if you are on the fence about trying beef bacon and know where to find it. Now, that might not be the case for a really high-quality beef bacon, but you might have to go to a really specialty butcher. I remember, I think, once seeing that the Bearded Butchers on their YouTube channel, they are actual butchers who will show you how a cow is processed on their YouTube channel. Their storefront will sell various beef products, and I think I've seen them with beef bacon before, and theirs looked really amazing, better than anything I've ever had. But beef bacon is the first one you want to try. The second one, I only know of where to get it from one place, and that's a place called Billy Doe Meats. This is not an advertisement for them. They're just the only place I know to get it. And this is lamb bacon. I've had it before. It comes minced, almost like cubed, like small cubes. You've probably seen Bella, the steak and butter gal, eat this before if you've been watching her videos for any length of time. Billy Doe Meats is different than most producers of lamb. They don't age their lamb. The lamb gets that lamby taste that many people find off-putting because of the aging process. But they don't age theirs, or they don't age it for very long, which mitigates that flavor almost entirely. It's barely there. You smell it when you cook it, but it's not there when I taste it. At least not for me. Now, maybe you have a more sensitive palate than I do, and maybe you'll still be able to taste it. But lamb belly is super fatty, super delicious. And yes, lamb is a ruminant animal. It's salty. Because it's cubed, you can actually, when you're frying it, you can get these little fatty, crispy poppers out of it. Highly recommend lamb bacon if you can get it. Billy Doe Meats is often sold out of the lamb bacon because it is very popular. Let me know in the comments if you've had their lamb bacon, or if you know of another place to get lamb bacon. Don't put a link to anything in the comments. Links are filtered out to prevent people from trying to scam you with their WhatsApp pitches or whatever. So just put the name of a place you can find lamb bacon. I suspect that's the one most people are going to want to try the most. Lamb bacon is delicious. I would have some in my freezer now if I could, but I'm about to embark on a rather interesting way of trying to really, burn off body fat with the carnivore diet. And when I am ready to launch that, I will do a video on what I'm doing. And unfortunately, lamb bacon is not going to be part of that process, so I don't have any right now. The next one is one I haven't had. I would love to try this, but again, you can't really find bison in most stores, and when you do, it's usually ground or a couple steak cuts. Any other cut you have to buy from a specialty retailer, and that would, of course, be bison bacon. It's going to be like cow bacon, beef bacon, made from the belly, crispy, because it's bison in the United States are very heavily regulated, so these are going to be grass-finished by definition, so they'll be leaner. All cuts of bison tend to be leaner than the regular cuts of beef their counterparts are. But bison is delicious, so I really want to try it, even though it does have that kind of like wilder, slightly gamier aftertaste because it's wild, or even if it's like raised on a farm because of the grass finishing, it still tends to have a slightly gamier taste than what you're used to from conventionally raised beef. But it's going to have a higher omega-3 ratio to omega-6 fatty acids than a conventional beef or pork is going to because of its grass-fed nature. One of my first videos I did here was bison ribs that I smoked. They were amazing. They were expensive, but they were amazing, and I really need to get back to the company I bought it from and get more because they're delicious, and summer's almost here, and that's the summer barbecue season, and I love ribs of all kinds, and so that's going to be fun. But bison bacon, if you've had it, let me know in the comments. 10 out of 10 would recommend you do that. The fourth one we're going to recommend is Wagyu, the Wagyu of pork, Iberico. This is the closest to conventional bacon because it comes from a pig. But they come from Iberico pigs, which are a Spanish breed of pig. They're widely raised in the United States. They're fed predominantly acorns, I think it is. They are considered, the Wagyu of pork. And their fatty acid profile is like magnificent. Like it's a health food practically to eat it for a carnivore. Problem is, it's extremely expensive. Wagyu or the Iberico is in general. Now, it's not as expensive as Wagyu beef, but then again, pork is relatively cheap compared to beef anyway. But it's still expensive. Let me give you an idea. I bought Iberico bacon made from Force of Nature meats a couple of years ago, and it was $17, I think, for a single pack of bacon. A little steep for my blood, but I bought one once just to try it, and it was delicious. Worth the price? Yes. Something I would do on a regular basis? No. Maybe you got a cheaper source of Iberico pork than I do. And there are retailers online who will sell you half and full pigs, Iberico pigs, processed and everything. They'll ship it to you. It'll be all wrapped. The cuts will be individually wrapped. A belly or two will be in there. Depending on how big the pig was, they may have to cut the belly into sections. And then you can make your own bacon. And making bacon is not that hard to do. It really isn't. The hardest part is slicing it. You need to smoke at a low temperature, lower than most smokers will go, which is one of the reasons I haven't smoked the two pork bellies I have yet. And then after it's done, you slice it on a meat slicer, which is the most dangerous part. And then you got bacon, lots and lots of bacon. But those are 4 of the 5. But the fifth was my recent find, a very interesting find I ran into at Sam's Club. They had this product. It was a pork shoulder bacon. Now they've got me intrigued because pork shoulder roasts are the cheapest pork cut imaginable short of pork butt. Pork butt, when it goes on sale, is like 99 cents a pound or something. Pork shoulder, though, pretty cheap most of the time. It's advertised as 45% leaner than regular bacon, which normally you want the fat, but a lot of you have hang-ups about the fatty acid profile of pigs, and I won't argue with you about that. But 45% leaner maybe is something you could do. And I just had some. And I made it the way I usually do make my bacon. If you haven't seen my video on how I make bacon, you should watch that video. I think is the best way to make bacon, full stop. and it came out nice and crispy. It was delicious. Unlike most normal American bacon, this was almost round, but not round like Canadian bacon. It was round with a little point coming off of it, almost like a ribeye. You've seen you know how some ribeyes have like the point on it, the fatty point on the end? My favorite part of the ribeye. If a ribeye doesn't have that, I don't want that ribeye. Anyway, this bacon has a similar little point on it. And it's so good. It's so good. Now, caveat, it's brined with brown sugar. Now, not a lot of brown sugar, no carbs in it, but still be warned. But again, I think I could make it sugar-free. And I might do that. If you're interested in a video on how to make bacon, let me know in the comments, including on an experiment on how to make a sugar-free shoulder bacon, budget bacon, because most of you can't find in most grocery stores pork belly. Unless you're in Texas, apparently all the stores there carry it, but from what I hear. But any place I've ever been, pork belly is not typically found at the grocery store. The pork shoulder is. So let me know if you want to see me make a video on that. But that's 5 kinds of bacon. Do you have experience with any of these kinds of bacon? Do they stand up to you compared to regular bacon? Let me know in the comments. What other kinds of weird bacon do you know? Remember, bacon is cured, so this isn't going to be like salmon belly, which you can find at a lot of Asian stores. Salmon belly's delicious, by the way. But that gets me thinking, could I make bacon out of salmon belly? Anyway, let me know what you think of this in the comments, please. Like and subscribe if you haven't. It does help, as does sharing this on social media. That helps a lot, too. I'm Anthony Stine, the Practical Carnivore. Thanks for tuning in.